Good afternoon, welcome to my front room. My apologies for my terrible hair. Look at it. It's probably the worst haircut I've ever had, but it's the absolute opposite of a haircut because I haven't had my haircut in a long time. But it's okay, because we're here to do some smart mobility, some good yoga, and work things out depending on what you have going on yourself. How your joints work, how your balance is, how you move around. Gonna make it good. So, it really helps me when you let me know what it is that you've got going on. It makes it cool. It makes it good. I was just wondering, there's a little tag friends thing there. I couldn't even tell what it was. So, let's have a little think about this and how this works. So, the mobility we have, the end ranges, are very useful to us, of course, when we need to be able to reach things. Like be able to touch your toes, to be able to put your socks on, to be able to possibly like fall over but not fall over, so like lose your balance and be able to do a little side bend and be strong enough to be able to pull it back and to understand the limitations of our bodies, but be able to work right up to them and be able to get it back and be able to balance and be able to be strong. And that's exciting for me. And I like to think about these things of how this rotation in our hip is so important that if you don't have it, then so often then people's lower backs hurt. And I think we can really fix ourselves up by just doing smart stuff, but it's got to be that you do it a lot, like high volume over the week, over the month, over the year to really make a difference. You can work really hard within a short space of time, like push really hard, like really try and stretch and like really dig into it, but if you only do it once a week, then you don't adapt. Your body doesn't change that much if you just do the thing once a week. So if there's something that we do in this class that you think is putting you in the right direction and it's for you, you can get it and you understand that it's hitting your weak link. We all have weak links. Then that's the thing you should probably try and introduce to your daily routine of movement. And if it is just hip cars, that every day, as a habit, you explore this hip, and then your body will adapt and show you how to use this hip and how to make your stuff work nice. And that just makes perfect sense to me. That every type of training, every type of exercise, we're trying to teach our body to be able to adapt to the thing that we are doing. Whether that's running or lifting weights or doing body weight or doing like HIIT training, your body adapts. If you do a lot of HIIT training, then you get good at hitting your ceiling fast because you work really fast and hard, and then you peak out, and then you have a little rest, and then you do it again, and then you peak, and you get good at adapting to that. If you run or walk steady and slow where your heart rate doesn't hit the roof and doesn't go up, then you get good at maintaining a little bit of a higher heart rate and it goes longer. If you lift weights and you get good, you adapt to being stronger, to be able to lift those weights. And the way that you lift those weights is the way that you adapt. So every single input that we put in is specific to our output. So if you give yourself mobility training that teaches you how to be strong on the opposing side, so if we look, and this is probably the stretch we're going to do for our hamstrings today, when you put your heel on something, if you stretch this stuff by doing this, but then you teach this closing angle to be able to control that, you adapt that way, so that gets good at you being able to lift your foot and be able to step over things. You adapt to that specific input, and that's what I want. That's how I like things to be, nice and specific. So if you just sit on the edge of your sofa, chair, bed, whatever kind of furniture you've got, a little ottoman, a little buffet, anything that kind of works. It can be really low even, it can be like a little footstool even. It just means that you've got a bit more to play with compared to, I'm just going to do it here, if you cross your legs like this, because your hips find an end range, even if you're really flexible, and it means that because your hips and your pelvis is like stuck in place, it's a little bit harder to explore your spine, and that's where we're going with this next. That's why I prefer this. And I'm going to keep doing this while we've got the luxury of doing this class at home, because oh no, this one will keep going at home, but a lot of my yoga classes are going to go back to the gym when they open back up. Alright, we're on time. Let's get started. Just take a big sigh, and then let your mouth close gently, and see if you can soften your shoulders down. It helps me to close my eyes here, because I've just got one less input so that I can pour my attention just into breathing. And this tends to stay kind of the same. You expand your rib cage, draw your belly in, then you expand your rib cage, draw your belly in. Let's see if you can make your breathing like super quiet, like nobody can hear you. Like silent breathing. It doesn't need to be end range breaths, so you don't need to go like inflate all the way up because you're only sat still. I've got time to expand the lungs like that in other forms of training, but I like to breathe for the task at hand, and if we're just sitting still, then this is the task. It's just easy. And then I want you to do a little side bend where you squeeze your rib cage down towards your hips on one side and down towards your hips on the other. Keep moving kind of slow. See if you can set your gaze somewhere in front of you. Alright, we're going to do this a little bit harder this time. It's not particularly hard, it's not super taxing, but some people find it hard to keep the shape and move and breathe at the same time. I want you to pin yourself into a side bend and then rotate your shoulders. So one shoulder comes forwards, the other goes back. One shoulder goes forwards, the other goes back. It might help if you cross your arms over your chest while you're in side bend. Look at my face, how you can still see my head looks straight on so that it's completely separate to this movement. And I'm moving at a different timing to how I'm breathing. That's it. See if you can relax your jaw. Then come over to the other side. Let's see if we've got this. So it's side bend plus rotation. And see if you can get any further. Because we're just starting, I'm not asking you to irradiate a load of strength into this, it's just movement. And seeing if you can understand this movement. What I've been kind of talking a lot about with my clients and in some of my classes is, can you make a movement happen, a repetitive movement like this, and flick a switch on it? Imagine like you've just turned it on and this is it happening. You're a machine that does this. And then you can send your attention, your brain thinking about other parts of your body, like your breathing, like what your feet are doing, like where your knees are, where your hips are, what part of your bum is sat on the sofa. Is your head tilted like this? What is going on? Can you feel every little bit? Okay, and then go side bend like this again, and see if that feels any different. Keep your arms crossed over and see if you can still keep your head kind of still. So if you look at the negative space behind me, like the minus the bear poster that's behind me, you kind of see that my head moves a little bit as I do this, but not that much. If you're going like this, look, then your neck is moving with your spine. It's just quite a good, helps you balance actually. If you can program yourself to be able to do this, then you'll be able to hopefully balance a little bit easier. Well, let's do a little bit of balance as well then, because I think that this is important. So if we think about a classic yoga pose like tree pose, so if we do the simple version of just putting your foot on the inside of your calf and push your foot into your calf, I like having a little bit of a bent knee. In this position, in this pose, locked knees totally allowed, so you can like even tense your quadricep, so this muscle here, and be able to hold this balance. Now your head should be over the top of the balance point. Your big toe is down, but also the outside edge of your foot is down. And there's different ways of thinking about balance. Just see if you can hold this. You've got mechanical balance, which I think is this, where you position your body in a way that there's even weight over the balance point, and then it becomes a little bit easier. So I can just hang my arms here and I feel like this is easy. I can almost rest here. I'm not having to cling on to the balance. My ankle's doing a bit of work, but it's not super taxing. But then there's balance when you are moving through space and your brain and your inner ear can kind of understand where the horizon line is, and it can keep you balanced. So let's see if you can still do this side bend. And if you can do this with your head staying over the top of your foot, you might find like this is easier. You might fall out of this as well, which is allowed. So if you look at the negative space behind me, my head is kind of staying in line with that poster behind me, that picture behind me. Moves a little bit, but not enough to throw me out of this pose, which is kind of helpful. Can you then pull yourself over to this leg that's here, and then reach your arm up and see if you can still hold balance while you stretch down the side here. Come on, turns out I can't. So if I pull my head over a little bit, moving my head close to my bicep, I think I've got this balance a little bit better now. Gonna then try that the other way. So if I reach up, reach the other hand down, I keep my head over the top of the balance point, then it becomes a little bit easier. Can we then try this with rotation? So see how my head is now on the outside of my foot. That's my balance point. I've felt that. I can feel my center, and I can rotate my chest and still hold this balance. This is a long time to be stood on one foot. There we go. It's exhausting. Okay, let's try this on the other side. And remember, it's okay to cheat. It's okay to grab hold of something and just check in, as long as you come back to just balancing. It's okay to check the floor. If you are falling out of this a lot, you can try this like this with your heel just above your ankle and your big toe touching the floor, and then you should be able to just have a little bit more of an anchor to the floor. It just makes your base just a tiny bit bigger. So foot on the inside of your calf and pull this knee back. See if you can tense your bum muscles. You're allowed to lock this knee out if you want, but I always prefer having a little bit of play and having a little bounce in this knee. I'm going to lock it out just because I don't tend to train that way quite as much. Let's just see. On the other leg we did talk for a little bit, so I'm just going to scan my body. I'm going to feel what it feels like in my foot, feel what it feels like to breathe. Can I tense this bum muscle? It definitely helps. And if I look at where my head is and the negative space behind me, head is right over the balance point. I'm pretty comfortable being here. Let's do the side bend first. I forget which way I did this, but we'll just play around. So my head stays kind of still, and I can still do these little spinal movements, and the structure stays strong. I can breathe, I can rotate. My head stays still and separate from this movement. If your head moves with your shoulders, I can feel my ankle clinging on so much harder when I let my head move. If I can keep my face looking at the horizon line, looking forwards, kind of looking through everything, it helps me. And then let's see, if I reach my hand down behind my hip, reach my arm up, kind of do this side bend, and I know I've got to keep my head kind of pinned against my bicep as I do this side bend, and then I can find this bend just a little bit easier. Then we can try the other side. To reach this arm up and reach over. And my head has to go on the outside now, but I'm all right. I've still got it, and I can feel my ankle working hard. Can you breathe in this position? And coming back. I really like learning, so we're back to the other foot again now. I really like learning the moving parts of balance so that we can start to be able to make you be able to balance on one leg and not fall out while other bits move. So you still can keep the structure strong. So I've definitely got a little bend in this knee now, and see how my head is kind of on the outside of my balance point, but because I'm swinging around this side of my body, this side of the balance point, it's still equally balanced. I've still got this little bounce, and I can bounce here and bounce here. Come on, if I can. Losing it, still got it. Losing it, still got it. That's it. And I can feel this ankle working hard, keeping me in this. I'm kind of picking my knee up and letting these arms swing. Let's try this on the other side. And it's okay if you don't have this. If you're looking at me and being like, well, he's doing it, why can't I do it? I practice this a lot, I teach it a lot. So I'm well practiced. And the way I think about it is the opposite sides go the same place. So my opposite arm goes, so my left arm and my right leg both go back, both go forwards, and my right arm does the opposite, and my head. And I can do this little bounce and I can feel all of my toes keeping this balance and be able to move my torso around, move my arms, my shoulders are doing this little turn. It's not end range rotation in my spine, it's just a little bit of torque, falling out a bit, but I managed to bring it back. And that's where the power and the strength is, to be able to get a little bit further, feel like it's going to throw me off, and then be able to kind of keep it going, keep it going. And that little bounce makes me heavier. That is it, and that's where the training is, that's where the adaptation comes out. I was talking about at the beginning of the class that any stretchy stuff, any exercise that we do, we're teaching our body to adapt to that specific input you're putting in for you to be able to get a specific output. This is it. So let's have wide feet, toes pointing out a little bit, and then I want you to swivel your right foot out this way. So this is going to be kind of like a warrior two, but it's going to be a little bit different. I want to see how far forward you can get this knee past your toes. Now you might have heard that knees past toes is a bad thing to train. It only is if you can't do it. But you can teach yourself to be able to do it, so that when you go down a hill, your knees pass over your toes all the time. When you go downstairs, your knees pass over the toes all the time. And we can get our body to adapt. So, just go as far forward as you can, and then see if you can swivel up and keep this hip extension, and see how far forward you can get this knee, and see if you can get hamstring to press into your calf. So I'm getting a big stretch here in this hip flexor, my knees off the floor, my knees forwards. Then come back up and back into swiveling this back foot sideways. What's important is you only go as far as you can without any pain. That's it, that's your baseline, is no pain as far as you can go. So if you only get to here and your knees like, no, then you can go back to here. And this is where you spend your time, and then you just swivel, see if you can hold it, and then swivel back. No pain, but you're teaching your body to adapt to this shape, so that maybe it can do this shape, and then maybe it can do this shape, and eventually build these blocks up until you've got that going as far as you can, and then dropping, and then you've got a knee that can do anything. And I feel really happy here. No pain, no danger, no anything. Let's see if we can hold this. Still on the same leg. Can you tense this back bum muscle and breathe? And then push yourself back up and back into this sideways back foot. Let's try this on the other side. So come back to kind of wide feet. So with your left foot out to the side. See how far forward you can get this knee. Play around with this and feel, because if you do feel pain, that's legit. Your body's giving you a warning for a reason, and that's when you should back away. But you shouldn't not do anything that pushes weight forwards this way, because how would you get down the stairs? You'd be stuck. You'd be like Ed 209 from RoboCop. I don't know if you get that reference, but it was a good film from the 80s and 90s. See if you can hold this, and then see if you can swivel. Come on, bounce. Swivel the back foot so all your toes point this way, and see how far forward you can get this knee. Can you sit your hamstring onto your calf and feel this stretch here? Then come up, swivel this back foot, and we're back to safety. We're only doing 3 of these on each leg. So get this knee as far forward as you can, swivel the back foot, drop down, stretching this hip flexor, heel stays down, knee gets forwards, and come back up, and swivel, and we're back to safety. And if you feel vulnerable, you are vulnerable. Remember this. We've got 1 more rep left. So even if you just hang out here, that's fine, that's allowed. You absolutely, you should only work to where you can work. And you persuade your body to just go a little bit further. But you've got to get comfortable where you've got available first. Let's go and see how low we can get. Big stretch here, getting this heel down, getting this knee forwards, coming up or back into these kind of wide feet, and then back into hamstring stretch. So let's just test this first. Can you drop your belly button as low as you can, but keep your collarbone and your chin up so you're not curling your spine around like this. Keep dropping down. Maybe your fingertips can come to the floor. I'm trying to lift my chest. It's very easy for me to put my palms down. I can even bend my elbows, but I've got to curl my spine over to be able to get that extra range. I'm trying to lift my collarbone, keep a little bend in my knees so they're not fully locked. Breathe here. My hips are actually reaching back, still hanging out in this. And then let's check in with this. If you come up, put your hand on your collarbone, hand on your belly button. If you curl your spine over, look, your hands get close to each other. If you flip your ribcage up, your hands go further away. If you hang around in the middle, this is the middle. Let's see if you can keep it in the middle as you go into hamstring stretch. You should be able to tell if your hands get close to each other or if your hands get further away from each other. You should be able to feel the difference. Keep dropping, and then just hang out in your hamstring stretch. See if you can push the outside edge of your foot down. Shoulders down away from ears. And then you can maybe bring fingertips down and just hang out here for a little bit longer. Work out which part of your foot is pressed into the floor. Is it your big toe? Is it your little toe? Is it the outside edge of your foot? And then see if you can curl over and let your spine curl over now and pour the weight forwards into your toes. And feel your big toe catch you as you hinge over this leg. And maybe walk your hands through your legs and press into the floor with your fingertips to pull you deeper into this stretch. And then coming forwards and pick yourself back up. Let's have a little play around with feeling the tension in our hamstrings. So if you go with a shallow like split stance like this, and show me that, or show yourself that you've got a bend in both knees. By the way, your knees over your toes on this back leg. Nothing dangerous about this at all. As long as your knees feel okay, they're okay, and you can build the capacity by exercising them here. I want you to pull your feet towards each other, so you're trying to actively pull on the floor without your feet going anywhere, keeping this little bend in your knees. Put your hand on your belly, hand on your chest. See how low down you can get without changing your knees or changing your spine. Keep pulling your feet towards each other, and then lift yourself up, and then come back down again. We're going to do just 5 of these. 2, and you should be able to feel your hamstrings with tension in the stretch, and then use them to pull yourself back up. And then 1 more. Yes. And swap legs. Little bend in both knees, pull your feet towards each other, 1 hand on your chest, 1 hand on your belly. Find your stretch first, as far and as low down as you can without using your spine to come down. And pick yourself back up. Let's go 1, 2, doing 5 of these. 3, 4, 1 more. Yes, 5. Perfect. So then, let's get into some standing hamstring stretches. So you know I love these standing hamstring stretches. If you're next to your sofa, put your foot up on the arm of your sofa and do a little hop inwards until your calf touches the inside of your sofa. If this is too high, you can just have it on the seat of the sofa and it's exactly the same. Or you could be down on one knee with your leg on here like this. This is allowed as well, and I quite enjoy this version, but I'm not doing that one. I'm going to do the standing one. Really, it depends on you and your furniture and where you are in your room and what space you've got as to which is the best one for you, because it's essentially the same, just some of the building blocks are a little bit different. Some of the exterior stuff, like your footprint is on when you stood up, knees on when you knelt down. Let's see if you can pull your belly button forwards without curling your spine over. Remember, I like this, where you can understand how to make your stuff work like this, and understand that you're doing this with your spine curled over, or maybe you prefer this with your spine upright. Let's see if you can just hang out, see if you can make stuff relax, except maybe let's try this. Can you pull your toes back towards your knee? So you're turning on tibialis anterior, this muscle here, in front of your tibia, in front of your shin bone. Pulling toes back. It might give you a little stretch in your calf, which can be kind of nice. Keep breathing here. Shoulders down away from ears. Relax your jaw. Okay. Let's just go for one more breath. Your mouth closed, shoulders down, breathing kind of silently. Then start driving your heel down now. Pretty hard, like really quite hard. Pushing your heel through your sofa, through your bed, through your dining room chair, whatever you've got in this stretch. And then I want you to start pushing down with your heel as you curl yourself over. Maybe you could even put your hands either side of your heel and really push down now. So you should be in absolute end range with tension on this muscle here. Keep driving down, keep pushing. Keep it on a little bit longer. Going 3, 2, 1. You're not done. See if you can lift your foot in this position. So if you don't have your hands on the sofa or on the bed, whatever you've got, then you can do this upright a little bit. It's allowed, but you're trying to get hip flexors to try and pick this foot up. Keep trying to connect, keep trying to connect. Going 3, 2, 1, and then just soften. And then pick yourself up and just see if you've still got a little bit to give here. So you can lift this foot while you're upright, make these hip flexors work, and then stretch just passively. So you're just trying to find this end range, nice and relaxed. Cool. Then coming up, let's swap legs, shall we? So, up here, do a little hop so your calf touches the inside of your sofa. So your inside your calf touches your sofa or your bed or whatever you've got. Little bend in this knee. Find your hamstring stretch without curling your back over. I've got a sleeping Joey there, just making cute sounds, dreaming about fighting stuff probably. Just get hold of your breathing here, see if you can soften your shoulders, and see if you can find this stretch in hamstrings. Just keep coming. Keep coming, keep coming. Maybe you can find hands either side of your heel. Just a little bit longer. What's your footprint saying on the floor? Are you pushing your toes down into the floor? Alright, start driving your heel down now hard. So you're really pushing your heel through this chair, through the sofa. Keep it on. Keep pushing, getting stronger. See if you can relax your jaw a little bit. And see if you can lift your foot here. So you're pushing down and then you're swapping direction, trying to lift your foot with your hands either side of your calf, either side of your foot. Maybe you lift yourself up a little bit. Maybe you have to pick yourself up all the way. Tense this bum muscle, try and lift your foot. Make this hip flexor on. Keep lifting, keep lifting. 3, 2, 1. And then drop and stretch. That's it. And coming up. Oh, fantastic. Then let's just have a little play. Stood with your feet together, push your heels together, make bum muscles tense. You can unlock your knees as well actually this time. Let's see what happens if you try and stretch hamstrings with locked knees. And can you extend your back so you lift this bottom rib? And that's it. I can only touch my knees with a flat back. That's my limit. I have not got any further with locked knees. However, if
bring myself down and curl my chest down and move my spine a little bit. I can kind of get palms down with fully locked knees. But I always prefer, if I let my knees bend a little bit, I still get a hamstring stretch here, just very different. And then see if you can push your heels together and lift yourself back up.
So I said I was going to kind of focus on this, let's stick with it. We'll keep doing this for another couple of weeks, see if we can improve on it. So I want you to put your shin up on the arm of your sofa like this, so your shin comes across. If your knee hurts here or it doesn't work for you, you can stack something under your foot, so you could put some like hardback books or a little step if you've got one under, so you've got a little bit of height to play with, and then you can slide yourself down and bend this standing leg to make it work for you with what you've got going on. You can do this exact same pose facing into the sofa or your chair. It's the same except you're on your knee on the floor, and you might be able to stack your knee up easier by stacking all of your cushions or a rolled up yoga mat or something underneath your knee just to lift you up a little bit. I think you all get what I'm saying. You don't need me to jump and show you what that looks like on your knee. So here we're looking for the stretch on the outside of our hip. It's the same as pigeon stretch, essentially, same as 90-90, it's just that we're stood up. And I like this one better actually, because I'm stood up, I've got way more control over where my hips go, where my spine goes, and you know I like being able to explore these poses. Let's see if we can drop, see if we can stretch. I'm going to use the sofa as well. See if I can pull shoulders down away from ears. Just relax my jaw. Soften here. Okay. Stick with it. And see if you can drive your heel, drive your shin down through the sofa. And see what you've got. See if you can really drive down. Really make this work. Pushing, making the muscle that you're stretching contract. Be able to breathe at the same time. Then coming up, make yourself upright. Now try and lift this heel up towards your face. Can you tense the muscles in your belly and lift this? I'm not getting any airtime here, no way. I'm just trying to tune into it. I'm just trying to feel it. Keep lifting, going 3, 2, 1, and stretch again. That's good. Let's go straight into the other leg, shall we? Bring this leg up, bring your shin across like this. And it might be good for you to just settle into this while you stood up. Just feel what's going on. You move around a bit, you breathe, you shift. And then see what it feels like just to start dropping just a little bit. You can use the sofa, use your bed, use whatever it is, whatever piece of furniture you've got that's just high enough for you to get your shin across like this. Just work it out. Maybe you just bend this standing leg to be able to get yourself just a little bit lower. Keep breathing. Keep hanging out. That's it. Okay, start driving your heel and your shin and your knee down now. So you're pushing through the sofa with this leg, getting it stronger and stronger. 3, 2, 1. Lift yourself up. Now try and lift this foot, lift this knee, lift this shin. Keep lifting, keep lifting, keep lifting. 3, 2, 1. And stretch. Just into passive stretch here. Fantastic. All right. And then coming out, let's have a little look at these hips and feel what they've got going on. So if you start on your left leg, because I started my left leg on there, I'm going to just do this internal external rotation. I'm trying to turn my thigh. I've actually got hold of both of my pockets now. I'm keeping my pockets really still, and I can feel on this left hand what's moving around in my hip. Can you hold this hip out to the side and do the same? It's a lot harder for me. Try and squeeze into these end ranges. Show this hip you've got control. I'll lose it on this internal rotation with my hip out to the side. I can feel my hip goes a little bit empty, like I've not got that much strength to give for that turning in. Turning out, I'm really happy. Oh, there we go. Let's try this on this leg. Turn it in and turn it out. And for me, this is what yoga is all about. Even though this isn't classic yoga, it fits in to everything that it's about control and range and mindfulness and just understanding my body and getting control over these ranges that I know it goes into when I move around, when I play sport, especially when I play things like squash or football. I'm always turning and pushing and pulling. It's this stuff that makes me faster and gets me to the ball. And I can tune into that here, and I feel like it's so useful for me and for everyone really. Come on hip, let's see if you can do this internal rotation while it holds out to the side. Oh, it's so crampy and weird. I feel this standing leg getting tired as well. Yes, there we go. Okay, so we've still got time to finish up with a little bit of thinking about how the muscles in our belly work. If you can come down into kneeling, and if you're happy, sat on your feet like this with your toes pointing backwards. This is my preferred position, but absolutely not essential. This is totally allowed, or with your toes curled under like this as well. It's the same deal. When I say push into your thighs, you still just push into your thighs. So when you just soften your shoulders down and just move your spine in any direction and then just settle and be still. You should be able to find a connection to these muscles in your belly here. Can you push your hands down into your thighs and feel these muscles tense when you push your hands into your thighs? It's almost like you're trying to do a crunch, like a sit-up shape, but your arms are in the way. So you kind of pull this bottom rib down towards your hips, but your hands are in the way pushing. See if you can get this stability here in whatever your middle range is of your back. I don't really like neutral spine as a word, because we should be ready to move and ready to be in any shape and be able to make tension in any shape. Then can you curl your spine over, still with your hands into your thighs or the top of your knees, and push your hands down here and feel like you've got connection to these muscles in your belly here. Can you then lift your bottom rib here? So you're pulling the bottom rib up, pushing your hands down, and remember, it's trying to pull yourself into a crunch. It's not just pushing your hands down, it's trying to curl over, but your arms are in the way. And I can feel a lot of tension here. It's a lot harder when you're in back extension. Look, when I'm going into flipping my rib cage up, and then see if you can get from here. So if you cross your arms over your chest, curl over, pick yourself back up, curl over, and pick yourself back up. Remember, this is the same if you're up high on your knees. If you can't sit on your feet like this, totally allowed to be upright while we do this. And we'll try to keep our pelvis still and feel your muscles in your belly move your spine around. Now let's see if you can do spine cars. So if I just face you, if you do a crunch, rotate, tip, dip, and then bring yourself around, back to the front in this crunch, and back around the other way. Can you keep your head still and move your spine underneath your neck without really moving your head? And I think this ability to do this really helps my balance, because I can feel Like I can move this stuff around and it doesn't have to change my perception of the world because my eyes are still fixed on a focal point. If I go like this, and I can move my body around and keep my balance. Couple more. Last one. Yes. Okay. And spin around into a little bear sit like this. Or butterfly pose. Let's go butterfly with heels touching and your knees pulling down towards the floor. So maybe you could put your hands under your ankles, elbows on top of your knees and push down. A lot of people have way more mobility than me, so this isn't really the way to add a bit of tension. So you can go palms up and push elbows down like this. Whatever way you can feel this little stretch happen in your groin. It's kind of cool. Shoulders down away from ears. And see if you can add some tension to this. So you're trying to lift your knees up against your arms. So your arms are pushing down, knees are lifting. Down into the floor. 3, 2, 1, and then heels tuck in. We're into cross-legged. And you can, if cross-legged on the floor isn't ideal for you, jump back up onto your chair, your sofa, whatever you're working on, and just finish this breathing, just with soft shoulders. Let your eyes close. Relax your jaw, relax your tongue. Just breathe. See if you can make your breathing kind of quiet. Bring palms together, thumbs to forehead, tuck your chin and roll forwards. And namaste. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. You know, I appreciate it and I love this class. We'll keep going with this. Perfect. Well done, Natasha, that's awesome. I love getting your feedback in real time, it really helps. Yeah, you gotta focus. Yes. Fantastic. Well done, Natasha, that's amazing. All right, let me know what you've got going on. Let me know how your mobility is, where you struggle, where your strengths are, and we'll keep talking about it. We'll keep saying this stuff out loud, and it helps us realise what it is that we are working with. I love it. You know I love it. All right, have a good day. I appreciate you all, and I will see you very soon. All right, bye everyone. See you later.